Hey everybody, it's Dustin over at Geekmatics on Casual Friday. As you can see, today we have an iPhone SE, the original version here, that does not power on or does not charge, as the client said. What he said the device history was he left it on his charger too long, and that, as I should know, can kill a phone. And I told him, no, not really. You can leave your charger on the phone as long as you want, and it shouldn't kill the phone. So what we're going to do is first we're going to go ahead and attempt to charge the device and see if it accepts any charge. Okay, so we'll switch you over to the hand camera so you can see. Get one of these chargers out here. Okay, plug it in, and the client did say there was no liquid damage. Not that clients are to be trusted, but still. So we'll see. It looks like it's drawing 6 milliamps, and no signs of life on the phone at all. No dead battery symbol, nothing at all. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and run the Tristar tester on the device. Like I said before, this is accurate for the things that it tests, but not accurate for everything. So this will just, if it's something that it can test for, will give us a quick answer. So I'll go ahead and run this test, and I'll fast forward through this because the test can take a little bit of time. Sorry guys, forgot to put my mic back on, but you can see the Tristar tester just passed. It doesn't mean Tristar and DocFlex are okay. It just says, maybe they're all right. All right, so the next thing we're going to do here is actually crack the device open. Get the right screwdriver. Screen here, instead of just connecting my DC power supply, is because I do not have a squid or a adapter like the iPro or iPower Max, whatever it's called. Has the connectors for like 6 and above. It does not have the SE, so I'll be connecting this a little differently than I normally do, and it's easier to do it without the screen. Okay, so the next step here, guys, is I'm going to leave the phone in the housing for right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my multimeter leads, if I can find one here that I use for this. There we go. I'm going to take one of my multimeter leads, and I'm going to connect it to my DC power supply like this. Now, this is not a multimeter lead that I necessarily care about. I don't use it to measure any diode mode measurements or anything like that. It's purely for this purpose because sometimes it can get damaged. I've actually touched the wrong thing before and it burnt, so this is no good. So that's why you use leads you don't care about. But what I'm going to do is use the alligator clip that I have connected directly to my DC power supply here, and I'm going to connect it to the end of the multimeter lead. And then what I'm going to do is for the ground, I'm going to find ground on the board somewhere, which is normally a standoff, and I'm going to use this one down here. Okay, now that's how it's going to be set up. That's how I'm going to inject power into the phone for right now. But before I do that, I need to know which pin on the battery is positive and negative. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my multimeter here, and I'm going to put it in either diode mode or continuity mode. It doesn't matter which one at this point. I'm going to find ground on the board, and I'm going to take the other probe, and I'm going to touch one side to each pin. So this pin here, I don't have continuity, and on the next pin over here I do. All right, so that means this pin to the right is going to be ground. Okay, so I'm going to put my positive multimeter probe to the pin to the left. Okay, now we'll go ahead and do that, and we will see what kind of current draw we will get. So I'm going to go ahead and readjust my cameras here so you guys can see the DC power supply. Okay guys, so now before I start connecting things and touching things on the phone, I'm going to want to make sure my DC power supply is on the right setting. Okay, so I like to use 4.2 volts, okay, and then about 2.5 amps when I'm connected to an iPhone, which is where I'm at. Okay, so I always do that to confirm, just to make sure I'm on the right settings. You don't want to go and inject, 10 volts or 18 volts for a laptop that we also work on, and then however many amps. Okay, so we just want to make sure that's correct. And again, we're going to put our ground alligator clip on a standoff, if I could talk today. All right, and then we are going to touch the left-hand side of the probe. Oh, and you saw it right there. It is a full short to ground. So that's going to be a main short. So at this current state, this phone will not turn on even with a charged battery. Okay, so now we're going to take the board out of the housing and we're going to go ahead and locate the short. Okay, so let's do that. I'm not going to go through that. This is not a teardown video for the SE. I'm sure you guys done plenty of these before. Alright guys, so the next step is to remove this back shield here. This is covering up, oh wow, look at that. Liquid damage right there. I'm not sure how well you can see it. We'll look at it underneath the scope actually and see if we're right. Because that look, oh, let me switch you guys over. That looks like liquid to me. Alright, do I see anything anywhere else? Let's quickly remove this and see if we have liquid under here. No, that looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so it's not too bad of liquid damage so far. Oh, look, more right here. Let's see. Let's take this shield off and see how bad this actually is. So in order to take these shields off, as I was saying, I use a board heater in Top Air. I like this because it holds the board down with these little clips here. I think there's actually, on this model, yes, there is stickers on the side of the... I'll take these off. There's one. Now we can take the shield off. You want to, when you're attaching your board heater, you want to be careful where you're putting the little clamps, because you don't want to put it onto a component, because you're bringing that temperature up, you'll squish it down depending on what temperature you're using on your board heater. Now on my hot air gun, I actually don't use a nozzle, so I'm going to take that off, and then we'll turn this on. Just wait another couple of seconds for this to warm up a little bit. And I'm going to go over the whole back shield here a little bit. Alright, and now I'm going to take my tweezers that I don't necessarily care about, find a hole to put them in, and gently lift up as I'm applying the hot air. And hopefully my tweezers will stay in position. And again, gently lift up. You see how the solder will give away? Oop, I lost my clamp there. The solder is easily giving away. All right, just like that. All right, we'll shut this off. And quickly take this off here because it's hot, so don't want to burn yourself. Unplug that and put it to the side. And then now we'll just let our board cool for a few minutes before we start inspecting it further. Alright guys, now that the board is cooled a little bit, we'll go ahead and switch to our visual inspection and see if anything looks ugly. Uh-oh. That solder ball doesn't look good. That doesn't look... Oh, there's two of them there. I'm not sure if you guys can see. Or three. You got one right here on top of this chip, and then one right here on the side of this cap. And again, you saw how easily that shield came up and how very little temp I had to use. So that's, highly doubt that's from me overheating it. Oh, another one here and here. That's Apple engineering. That's who I'm blaming. Alright, so to continue with our visual inspection. Again, really looking for anything discolored, a discolored cap, maybe brown, more darker than the rest from getting hot, because a shorted cap will get hot. And just while we're looking, the reason I took the back shield off first is because that's normally where we see that we have issues. That looks weird, doesn't it? Take a look at that later, see if that's getting warm. Alright guys, it looks like it's going to pass our visual inspection. On the back side anyway. Another solder ball all the way up here. What in the world? Alright. Now, you'll remember from my last video where I had a main short, I didn't just plug in right to the battery connector to inject the voltage, because then the MOSFET will always get hot, and we want to bypass that MOSFET. So I'm going to inject voltage right into main. Alright, that's VCC main. I'll show you here on ZXW, and then we're going to use freeze spray at first to see if we can identify where this is getting hot. Okay, so not really first, what we're going to do is kind of feel with our hand to see if something is getting extremely hot or it's extremely obvious, and then if it's not, then we'll switch to the freeze spray. Alright, so let's pull up our ZXW. Okay, ZXW, here we are. And we'll have the SC2020. That's not what we're looking for. Let's take a quick look at that and see what they already have filled out. Anything good? Wow. ZXW is on the ball. Good job. Cool. Down here, the old SE. That's what we want. Okay, so we're on the back side here. So I'm going to just click around. Look, first place I click is VCC main. Okay, so that's a coil, so we don't want to inject there, but that will tell us as soon as you click on the line, it will show you in ZXW the rest of the places that line shows up. So remember that piece down here that looked a little off? It does have main underneath it, so that could be our issue. Now what we're going to do is look for a nice large cap that we can inject voltage into. Somewhere convenient and easy to get to. This probably be this top one up here. Let's see if I can identify it on the board. Alright, I think I found it. So that's where we're going to be injecting our voltage into, and again we're going to be looking at anything that's highlighted, and you'll see here on the top side of the board while we're here, this is why I didn't go ahead and just remove those shields on the top to do a visual inspection, because you'll see there's no main up here. There's one cap, okay, but it could be, don't get me wrong, but I like the odds that there's probably going to be one of these things down here versus that one single cap, and if not, then that's unlucky. And then the rest, you have a couple of main caps up here next to the connector, and again, we looked at those, and we'll switch you guys over so you can see it, take another look at them. Is these two caps up here that it's talking about, all right? And those look okay as well. Not to say that they're not our issue, but those look okay. Now, so what the cap that we are looking at in ZXW is this one here. Okay, so that's where we're going to inject our main, and remember the main was on the right side. This side should be ground. Okay, so go ahead and reset up. Now we're going to answer injecting main. Let's do scope and me. I don't know if you guys are gonna be able to see too much. We're going to grab our red multimeter probe again, connect it here, and we're going to find ground on the board. I believe this little standoff is ground, but let's make sure. Let's not guess. I know the top of Wi-Fi I see is ground, so yes, that is ground. So I'm gonna, can't talk today. I am going to connect up here on this little stem there, my ground. And then I have my red multimeter probe ready. And it was this cap. Alright, so now what I'm doing here is I'm kind of putting my hand over the board to see if I feel any immediate heat or feel something obvious. I think I do feel something over here, but I'm not 100% sure. I think you see where it looks weird there. That could be from the overfill, but I don't know. I'm skeptical. Let me get me out of here so you guys can see. I'm skeptical. All right, so I'm going to use the freeze spray, or actually the duster can upside down is what I always use. Last some freeze spray there. Tip it over and blow. And we are going to inject voltage again. Zoom out all the way. No, it doesn't look like it's getting hot. Okay. Let's try that again. Have a nice snowy board. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Bam. That looks beautiful. I love seeing that. All right, so that's our issue right there. The only thing is that's an underfill, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, of course it is. Underfill right next to the PMIC. So that is going to be a pain in the butt to get out of there. We're going to do it very carefully. I'm going to put this back on the board heater. So in a situation like this, normally what I would do is just knock the cap off the board, but it's so close to the PMIC and it's covered in underfill, I could damage something else. I could knock multiple caps off the board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be very careful with it. I'm going to put it on top of a board heater. I'm going to bring it up to temperature. I'm going to use my top air at a low airflow and a low temperature, and I'm going to go in with my 007 blade and scrape it away, okay? Just like I did in my NAND video, it's going to be very similar. This one I'm going to do I'm not going to fast forward through it. I'm going to show you guys the entire process so you can actually see how long it should take, okay? Alright, so now we're going to start. I've got the board up to temperature and everything. If you see that cap, where did I just move you guys at? If you see that cap, I'm not sure exactly how we missed that, or I missed that on visual inspection. Because that's kind of obvious there. Alright, so again, low airflow. Look at this Quantum blade, brand new and already bent a little bit. Let's see if I can hopefully not damage it and straighten it out. Close enough. So what I'm doing here is brutalizing, shaking all over the place. What in the world? Right, I'm going to start on this side, steadying my hand here a little bit. So I'm just going to kind of peel away here very gently with my top air on a low. And again, we're very careful with our airflow because we have underfilled PMIC right next to us, and if we float that, we're done. Oh, come on. Steady up a little bit, arm. What in the world? I am shaking all over the place this morning. Too much coffee, that's my excuse. Come on. Ugh. Wow. I just took off something on the PMIC. I really hope I didn't mess up here. Because I will still put out this video, even if I did some more damage. Just show people that I'm not perfect. Alright, will that be enough to snap you out? It is. Perfect. Come on. Bam. Let's hope I didn't damage the PMIC there with my jitters. I think that's just like the top coating. I think we'll be okay. Get that cap out of there. Turn the board heater off and take it off. Alright guys, so we are going to test one more time. The first thing we're going to do here is go to that main cap that we had before and make sure it is no longer short to ground. All right. And do we have continuity? We do not. Perfect. So the next step is to, before we put it in the housing, is to connect DC power supply again and see what we're getting. Now I'm not going to prompt the boot, but I'm going to see if there's any short or anything like that on the pin. And it's not. We have a 0 amp draw, which is exactly what we would want from the current. And now we will put it in the housing and see what we get. Alright guys, so now that we have the board back in the housing, I'm going to go ahead and try to prompt to boot to see if it turns on. Oh, it does. I would expect the battery to be in protection mode. But it does actually turn on, and now we will go ahead and see if it charges. Get my charger back out here. %charge, okay. Alright, let's see here. And now what we get from the current is still, oh there it goes, 643 milliamps. It is pretty much completely charged already. It's at 93%, so we would expect, this charging port looks like it's no good. Wiggle it around, it goes in and out. So he'll also probably need a charging port. Alright everybody, so we have successfully fixed, Alright guys, so we have successfully diagnosed and fixed our iPhone SE with no power. Great video on short detection and how to identify a short. I'm going to be doing a series of videos of these, like I mentioned last times, on different shorts in different areas. This is another main short, but we'll be seeing different types of shorts in the future as they start to come into the shop. So I will see you next time, and I hope I taught you something.